Hey everyone, this is Julie again from the New Lighter Life, and today I have a cool update for you. I hinted at it in my last video where I showed you how to add images to your cookbook template. Today I wanted to show you a better way to mark your heading 1 and heading 2. Now, if you'll remember before, if you've seen all my other earlier videos, heading 1 is this major category. Heading 2 is the subcategory underneath our major, and then each one of the recipe titles is our heading 3. The way that we achieved that table of contents heading 1 and 2 was we used the styles pane and applied the style to the text. And what needed to happen when we did that was I'd have to make the text white or really small, and it would shift everything down. So today I'm going to show you a better way that you don't have to do that workaround. It will be formatted. And one more note before we get into marking for our table of contents is I did try to see and play around with putting this in the header and having that be pulled to the table of contents. Word does not function that way. So if you want to try going down that path, you may be very frustrated. So you cannot put it in your header. You do need to mark fields in order to get a table of contents. With the last video where I showed you how to put in recipe tables in order to incorporate an image, there's actually a perfect spot to hide those headings in there. This is also why I recommended you use tables regardless of whether you have an image or not. Bring your cursor to the top left where there's this little box, click that, and then you can right click, copy, or else you can also Command C. And as always, a reminder, I am working on a Mac, so some of my options may be slightly different. And I'm going to insert my cursor right after my subheading, which would be my heading 3. And I have my characters on so I can see where everything is at. And I'm going to Command V. You can also right click and paste. I'm just going to leave this recipe title here. It's not really, doesn't matter. I just want to show you how to get heading 1 and 2 in here and what it will look like in your table of contents. Once your table is in your cookbook, you'll click on the Insert tab and then you'll click on the field. I don't feel like this is very self-explanatory. It is very, very different how this all looks if you're working in a Windows computer. Next, you're going to click on the index and tables as far as categories, and it'll bring up the field names. You don't want to do a TOC, which is a table of contents. You want to do a TC, and at one point I could have told you what that meant, but I don't remember now. But you're going to go TC. Once you click TC, it puts the TC in the box below. You put your cursor in there, and there is actually a space between the two. It just defaults to that. But what I want to do is do my breakfast for my major category. And I'm going to put a quote mark. So you want to end quote with what you want your heading 1. And now you'll want to click down in the options because we have to tell it that we want this to be heading 1. So if you click on any one of these, it will give you a little bit of a description. Identifies TC entry for use in documents with multiple tables. L identifies the outline level. So we want this to be outline level 1. And then the next one be outline level 2 when we're in our table of contents. And then the last one suppresses the page number. So the one that is applicable for our table of contents would be L. So we're going to double click that. And then I'm going to put the number 1. And there is a space between that again. So we're going to say OK. OK. And this is our table of contents. Breakfast as the heading 1. Now we also need to put in our subheading, which is grains. So I just have my cursor behind that. It's like a close bracket for our field. So I have the cursor right behind that, and I'm going to insert another field. Again, we're doing index and tables, TC. I'm going to name this one grains. So putting my cursor there, quote, grains, end quote. Okay, and now going to options. Again, I need to tell it I want this to be a certain level, so double click on the L, put the cursor back down there, and I'm going to say 2 this time because again, it's a subheading. Okay. If you have an existing cookbook and you have a table of contents in here, you'll have to delete the table because what you need to do is tell your table of contents to pull from the fields that you've just created. So if you click up in the top left and do the arrow down, you can remove the table of contents, or you can select the entire table and delete it. So I'm going to just select to remove the table. A reminder now to get my table of contents back in: references, table of contents, and I need to tell it how to format it now. So I'm going to say custom table of contents. And right here, you can pick how you want your table to look. I'm going to say from my template, then you go to options. And here you want to make sure still, if you have any heading 1, 2, or 3, this is the table of contents level. But you also want to mark this box to say table entry fields. And I'll say okay. Okay. And it almost looks like I did nothing which is great. It looks exactly right. I have my breakfast, I have my grains, and then I have this recipe title. But it didn't take up any more space. I don't have to hide it. I discussed this in the last video. Now, as you remember, I have my characters on so I can see every single character and I can see this text. If I turn this off, I can't see any of it. It won't shift anything when you actually print it. So this is really helpful to have on. I'm not going to do any editing on this template. If you choose to do your table of contents this way, you'll want to remove all of your heading 1 and 2s that are throughout this template and use some kind of table in order to hide it. You can just put this information in there as well. This is a nice way to mark your categories and subcategories and create a table of contents that is seamless as far as pulling from text in your cookbook. That's it for today. This is a short update. I think it's a pretty cool one, and it introduces you into marking different fields. The next video will be all about how to create an index, which is a huge beast if you add this to your cookbook. And I am finding all sorts of things that I want to mark, and will be a really useful tool if you choose to add that. So stay tuned. If you guys want other options, like I've said before, please comment. Let me know what you'd like your cookbook to be able to do. And this is all just using Microsoft Word. I'm sure there's some programs out there that do this for you. But I love that we can just simply use a program that most people have on their computers and is very user-friendly. You may not think it's user-friendly after I show you how to create the index, but I think it's worth doing and a really great tool for whoever you gift or however you preserve your cookbook recipes. So thank you guys.